Well, again, welcome to this annual event of the HOACGA Carnival Glass Convention. We're glad that you're here and hope that everybody is settled in and now making the rounds and enjoying the convention. If there's any problems that you still have, why, let us know and we'll maybe try to help as much as we can. A few announcements before we get underway. One, Jerry and Carol Curtis will be in charge of the room display judging. So if you have not signed up for where your room display is and what room, please do so after this right out with the registration desk so that they'll know where to come judge your display. Then also the judges, they'd like to have you at their room at room number 230 this afternoon at 3 o'clock. So that's when the judging will start. So after 3 o'clock, your room display should be viewable from the outside so they can come by and judge the display. Immediately after this, we will have the luncheon, and after that luncheon, we will have the John and Lucille Britt Award for Excellence in Carnival Glass. And this year, we are very pleased to have as the honoree is Tom and Sharon Mordini. So we will be honoring them at that time after that. So we're looking forward to all of you to be there. Then after that program, then we have the annual meeting will be at 2 p.m. and it will be in this room and the first two sections of this room. So I think I've asked a couple of 3 people when this is over with, this has got to get torn down. So before the luncheon and before the 2 o'clock meeting, so we'll be in here at that time. Tom is, the room next door is all set up, and Tom will start setting up for the auction about 11 o'clock today, and he should be ready for viewing at 6 o'clock this afternoon for the glass for auction tomorrow. But again, we just want to say thank you for coming and being with us, and we want to thank our guest speakers today. I don't know whether we kind of got to, I think, Dorothy on a weaker moment, and I asked her if she would be glad to put on a program, and she thought about it for about 6 months, and then finally said that she would. So, but she's had at least 6 months to get up some more nerve to put on the program. So I'm sure that it will be a very interesting program because it is a very beautiful display of the glass setting before you. So to get on with the program of what we're here for, we'll don't know who's going to be speaking, but I think it's going to be Dorothy and Vanna program. I think that is. Van. Oh, it's Van. Dorothy and Van program. So at this time we will turn the program over to Dorothy and Emmett. And again, thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, I'm a politician, I'm a former school teacher, and Bob, what time does the luncheon start? 12:30, I think, right?
We'll have you out of here at 12:25.
I tell you what, I can yak, and I think all of you know I can yak. Emmett is, I'm going to be honest with you, Emmett knows more about the glass than I really do, but I can talk a lot faster than Emmett can. And there's a lot of glass to talk about, so we got less than an hour to do this in. So I talk fast, mainly due to the fact that if you don't hear me, too bad. If I made a mistake, too bad, because I talked too fast. That way you won't know if I said it right or wrong. But I do want to, first of all, all, it was really funny. I mean, politicians are full of BS. And then I really realized that this is educational. I actually have to say something with education. I can do BS just fine. But now, all of a sudden, it's really education. So I had to do a little homework. But I first want to thank all my friends for bringing all this glass. I wish it was Emmett and mine's. I really do. I mean, we would have a heck of a collection, but it is not all ours. I cannot claim that. And thank the Lord, we still have friends, Emmett. Okay. Now, Emmett is going to be Van, you know that. But Emmett, do not be Zorro. Please, do not be Zorro, and be careful. And also, I will acknowledge who all these pieces belong to when we get to those pieces. I think none of you have any kind of difficulty hearing me, and so I shouldn't have where I didn't hear you, and no hackling. And I don't want any abuse from any of it. Somebody got smart and said, I do have cheat notes, and said, oh, we'll just take those cards and I said, oh, no, you won't. I used to be a school teacher, honey. I know how to do that. They're all numbered. I used to do that when I was a school teacher, and I told my kids, I said, you make sure you number those cards, because I'd have them do research papers. A couple of them didn't, so I just took them and threw them up. They got that message. They numbered it from then on, so they know how to do it. Okay, well, first of all, we have a lot of pieces that have the same iridescence, and we did that on, well, not same iridescence, same pattern. And we did that on purpose just to show you the different type of iridescence that you can have on a piece. And it can be the same pattern, but it looks completely different with all the different type of iridescence. So you will see all of that in this here. Emmett and I have been only collecting for about 6 years. So the information that I'm going to share with you came out of the Thistlewood book, or Carl Burns' book, or from you. You've shared some stories with me. Dave Doty, I went some research on that. And some of the others I just BS and you won't even know. Okay, this talk probably should be really entitled Dugan Diamond, because that's what it really is. It started out Dugan, but then it eventually became diamond. So this is Dugan diamond glass. It's not just Dugan glass. And I think that most of you old-timers here remember when the bombshell hit in 1981, when all of a sudden Bill Heacock came out and said that some of these patterns were actually Dugan patterns. And so many of you felt like that was Northwood, it was Millersburg, it was Fenton, and I think many of you would not accept it. Eleanor told me some of those stories, and you just wouldn't accept it. And the glass even went down in value, a lot of it in the 80s. Floyd, is that when you bought your Peach-O farmyard? All right, bought in the 80s when the prices went down. But of course you know now the prices are not down when it comes to Dugan Diamond. It has basically come back a long, long time. Okay, first of all, I'm going to kind of just tell you a little brief history, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because I don't want to, because I want to talk about the glass. But I think that most of you know that Thomas Dugan had a famous cousin, and that was Harry Northwood, and he worked for him for a period of time, and then all of a sudden he decided he was going to get out on his own, and that's what he did with his brother Alfred, and they went on and started their own company, and it was called Dugan, and that was basically around 1904. And they have a trademark, and they have the one that, you know, it's got the diamond with the extending sides consisting of a D, but very few items are known with that trademark. How many of you have a Dugan piece with that trademark in Carnival? Well, not very many hands are up. I only see about 5 hands. So very few of those will you find. But then from about 1904 to 1908, the Dugans enjoyed very considerable success. And so by 1909, they said, we're going to get into Carnival because the Fentons are doing pretty good over there. Harry Northwood's doing pretty good. So they got into Carnival, and that really became the backbone of their company. And then he introduced one of the colors that he was very famous for, and that's the Peach-O. And I think you all know that Dugan is known for that. But for some unknown reason, in January of 1913, he and Alfred decided to basically leave the company, and they did. And I want you to know, within 6 months, it then became the Diamond Company. And he had to leave his molds behind, and so therefore they just took those molds and continued on with them. Prior to the 1913 departure, though, the year 1912 didn't start out very good for the Dugans, because they had a horrible fire, and it did $20,000 worth of damage. Now, $20,000 to you isn't a lot, but if you're back in 1912, it was a lot of dollars. A lot of molds were destroyed, and it was devastating to them. And there's going to be another fire when the Diamond Company came on. In fact, the Diamond Company had another massive destructive fire in 1931. And they had $200,000 worth of damage. And they just couldn't rebuild. Of course, it was right after the Depression. And they just couldn't rebuild. And so the company had to close its doors. They dismantled the company, and they went on then and sold it for taxes. And so that's the end of the Dugan Diamond era. So much for that. How about let's get on to some of this glass and some of the stories that I know. And I don't know a lot of them, but I know some. All right. If I mispronounce the name of these patterns, too bad. All right, here we go. You ready, Van? All right. Notice we put most of these in alphabetical order so poor Emmett wouldn't have to be running back and forth. Amaryllis. We have our amaryllis, and at one time even Carl Burns included this pattern in his Northwood book. And he basically said he listened to hearsay and he shouldn't have did that because it was really a Dugan company. And the compotes are found mostly in marigold and purple. By the way, Emmett, I bought that marigold one. Give Sweet a check. And by the way, don't you go to Swede, because that's the other purple one, and say I want that one. It's on my list for Swede to sell in that degree. Apple blossom twigs, probably one of the more popular patterns. The late Don Moore even reported that there could be an ice blue or celeste blue 9-inch plate. Does anybody have that? Anybody know of it? It's a bowl. And you have it. Dale Matheny, and it's a blue bowl, celeste blue bowl, and he has it. Thank you very much. It's ice blue. It actually is ice blue. I knew there were people that would get it to me and the information that I needed. The glass, and I mean, I'm not being certain. Thank you. It's nice to know that. The leaves, do we have the leaves up there? Oh, we didn't put their plate up there, did we?
We have their white.
There, we have their white plate. And notice on the apple blossom twig, we have the plate that's the round. The round, I think, smooth. I think most of you know that's probably a little more popular in that degree. Eleanor has the peach-o plate, and Sherry, and when I say Eleanor, do I have to include you, Jack? Or can I just say Eleanor Hamilton? Thank you. And Dick and Sherry Beckner are over here. And when I say Dick and Sherry, then you'll know who we're talking. Swede, I should really say Bertie and Swede, but I'll say Swede just. Is that okay, Bert? Bert and Sweetie, okay. All right. Bells and beads, let's go on to that. That's a really, really attractive pattern, but yet it's sort of overlooked. Supposedly, I'm going to say supposedly on all this stuff, there's supposedly one green example that takes the top honors in this, and we don't have that example here. And finally, I got the bells and beads. Emmett got it off for me on eBay, and we finally got that bowl, thank goodness. Big basket weave. I think we all are very, very familiar with that, and both the Dugan and the Diamond, boy, they made a lot of that, and they really liked that particular mold, and they made some good money out of that particular pattern, and they even handled baskets in that. Cobalt blue is really rare, and there's two of them. And they belong to Swede and Gail Eichhorst. So I don't have to always say their last name, but there we have two, and they're in blue. You keeping up, Emmett? Border plants. All right. Wonderful pattern. And show them ours, because we finally got that one off of eBay. Sometimes eBay is okay, but I have to pay an arm and a leg, and I wrote Brian and Fred and said, stay off. There are some people I have to write and tell them to stay off or back off in that degree. And the other one is Dick and Sherry. It is wonderful. They have another, theirs is that. And do we have the Peach-O one? And that one belongs to Bob and Imogene, Bob Grissom. And those are wonderful. You don't find those too often with that kind of iridescent. Brooklyn Bridge. We have, Gail brought the Brooklyn Bridge, and I think we know that there were probably quite a few of those made, but honestly, they made those for the 50th anniversary of the Brooklyn Bridge, but luckily before the fire, they took and had a whole bunch of these made, and they put them in a different room before the fire occurred. And so then they had them all, they started to clean up after the fire, and they gave away all these bowls basically to the local town people. And that's how they got a free bowl, I guess, out of that. But it was for the 50th anniversary. All right, Emmett, we're going to the butterfly and tulip. And we put those in the middle. And I think you all know how beautiful the butterfly and tulip happens to be. Nola Smucker, Nola and Keith have the purple one, and it's wonderful. And I know a few of you wanted that at Mickey's auction. I think I say Kaylani, she's going, yeah, yeah. But Nola got the beautiful purple one. And of course, there's only one known peach O. And John and Jeanette Rogers were so good as to bring that one all the way from their home. Isn't it wonderful? The only one known, and they bought that here last year at the auction, is what Jeanette told me. And butterfly and tulip, I don't have one of those, but one of these days we're going to find one. They basically really had a short lifespan. They believe it was one of those moles that got destroyed in 1912. So there's not many of those. Cherry, we're ready for that. And I guess the rarest shape in the cherries pattern is the ice cream shape in the large bowl. And we're just glad to have these bowls here. There is supposedly one confirmed shape in a plate. Crimp plate. Does anybody have that here? And there is one example in Vaseline, and Dugan did not do much Vaseline. And there's one example known in that, supposedly, and supposedly one in green, but unconfirmed in that degree. All right, let's go to the Christmas compote. Isn't it wonderful? Christmas compote. Well, that one belongs to Daryl and Norma Storm, and I think you probably have seen it in their room, and it is wonderful. It's probably one of the best ones out there. Some of you are very fortunate to have Christmas compotes. The only one we have is the Repo in red. I wanted to bring it, and Emmett said, oh God, please. But you know, when the mole was supposedly 400 pounds. The mole weighed itself when they found that. And can you imagine, it's so big and massive, how artistic and talented the person had to be doing that mole work to actually get it out, because it's that heavy and that massive. But that is a beautiful one. And so thanks, Daryl and Norma. And it is wonderful. You could buy it for me, Emmett. It is for sale. I did that on purpose to you. Okay. Good one on my part. Circle Scroll. We're going to go to Circle Scroll. And I guess the rarest piece supposedly is the jelly compote, and I don't have that here. There's supposedly only one known in amethyst, but the ruffle hat is really kind of still quite plentiful, but the Jack in the Pulpit version does take a little patient searching, and we have one of those that we were able to get when Don and Roland sold their collection, so we got that one there. And I believe, Gail, you brought a base, did you not? Is there a base up there too in that particular pattern? Constellation, now of course most of you know they come in white and marigold, and we have a white one up there, and that one belongs to Bob. 6 colors are really known, but white is really the more plentiful of all of those. And there's supposed to be a frosty white one with the marigold stem. Does anybody have that? Okay. What?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
You're the one?
Yeah.
He's got it. That was Mulebar, by the way, if you wanted to know who said, yep, I got it. And there's supposedly one of those. All right, now I don't want any smart comments, but the corn vase. I know one of those is a Northwood corn vase. But I just wanted to show the difference between the Dugan corn vase, and there's only one known, and that it's there. And if you haven't seen it, you better enjoy it. And that was also brought by Floyd and Cecil Whitley, and they have the only one known. Most of those never came out of the mold without being broken, and you can see why, because of the twigs. It was very, very difficult to get that out. Supposedly there's one more out there with some damage, but I don't know for sure. That's the only one known to be perfect. So enjoy it when you look at it. It's kind of like the peach, butterfly, and tulip. Enjoy it, because that's the only one known out there. And I just brought the difference. That's why Northwood went to the other type mold, because it's much easier that way. And you can see the difference in that. Well, the dahlia. I've got 2 wonderful water sets up there, and they belong to Pete and Paula Bingham. And the dahlia sets are wonderful. We don't have any because they've reproduced them, and you've got to be pretty darn smart. Now, Pete said, if you're going to get a whole set and there's somebody offering you a set, sometimes you can tell the pictures because they're kind of shiny, mirror-y kind of a thing. But he said on the old tumblers there were 4 mums. Am I saying that right, Peter? Did he leave so he didn't have to listen to me? Is there 4? Okay, and on the repo it's 3. Is that right? But they have those two, and it is just wonderful. Those are really, really nice. Daisy Webb. We've got some beautiful daisy. We got how many there? 3? 4. And they're all different. And they're all wonderful pieces. And Eleanor has the marigold and purple version, one of those. And then Sherry and Dick have a Jack in the Pulpit. And did Swede bring the other one? I think you brought the other one, Swede. That's on my list too, Swede. What? You have 2 sides up. His is 2 sides up. And so they're all different. Daisy Webb is a wonderful Dugan piece. It always has such great iridescence in that respect. Supposedly Peach-O is the rarest of that color, and you would think there would be a lot of those since he was so known for Peach-O. But they're very rare in Peach-O. Okay, dogwood sprays. We have 2 up there, if I'm not mistaken. One of those belongs to us, and the other one, that's the tri-corner, belongs to Dick and Sherry. And dogwood sprays, you'll find that only in the interior, and purple is probably the most often seen color. Marigold, believe it or not, is less often seen. And then there is supposedly a very rare blue. You got that too, Milbar? All right. Known. And supposedly there's one iridized blue opalescent bowl in that degree. But again, you can see the difference as far as the spray. Double stem rose. Where is it? There it is. We've got a wonderful white and a blue, and they belong to Joyce and Bobby Seal. Really Joyce Seal, right, Joyce? Right. Okay. Look at the white. It has wonderful color, and you don't find it too often in the blue. You really don't. And I got to tell you a quick story about the double stem rose in the middle. Jim Seek brought it to me, especially to me. I was so proud. He brought me a piece of glass to sell to me. And I said, oh, it's beautiful. Bring it to this dude over here. He looks at it and says, I don't like that piece.
I thought it was overpriced.
Thought it was overpriced. Didn't like the piece. So believe it or not, I said, okay, Jim, I'm not going to buy it. Well, then he sells the piece. Well, then I was really ticked at Emmett.
I asked him what he wanted to sell it to us for.
I was really ticked at Emmett. And he wound up, though, Fred and Brian had bought it from Jim, and I was just a you-know-what. And he tracked him down, and he said, look, you got to sell me this bowl. You have got to sell me this bowl. She is driving me crazy. She has never left me out.
You know, he almost named his price. He just sold it to me at a fair price. But at that point, price was not an option.
Well, I got it now, Jim, and it's at our home. Okay, fanciful. Got to tell you the fanciful story. That one right there, first one belongs to Sweet. That's really the one I wanted. This used to belong to Preston Wells. We went to an auction. Sweet always has, it's my turn, it's my turn. And he and I have the same eye. And so he wanted that plate. And if he's older, so, you know, okay, well, I really didn't want to give in to him. But if I bid against him, it's going to cost me more in the end. See, if you make him pay more, then I have to pay more. So that's just, you know, I just backed off. He's got that plate, low ruffle type plate, and I'm going to get it one of these days because it's on my list, right, Emmett? But so I said, okay, so I'll go for the next one. The next one is wonderful. This used to belong to the Whitleys. Well, so we're here at the auction, and Brenda, Jax wants the darn bowl. So Rodney and Brenda, they want the bowl. And Emmett looks at me kind of funny. He says, like, don't you pay a whole bunch for this thing? And we were going, weren't we, Brenda? We were going after it. Jim loved it. Jim loved it. I mean, he was milking that all the way. Well, then finally, we had to settle for the blue plate. That's ours. We finally got this one because I've always wanted a fanciful, and that's a blue plate. And at least I got one in the collection, and we'll get some more later on down the road. Farmyards, Emmett, we're ready for them. Oh, put those glasses on, hon. Oh, well, we're not there yet, hon. We're going to farmyards.
Look at these farmyards.
All right. I don't have to say anything about the farmyards except there's some very rare pieces up there, and you know that. And I suppose the rarest, of course, is the Peach-O. There's only one known, and Floyd and Cecil were so kind as to bring it also beside the corn vase. And it is wonderful. There's only one known. Floyd told me a quick story. I think in 71 or so, there was a show, TV show. A woman had brought it over, did a show on TV. It was in Cleveland. And Woody had somehow seen that show, basically got the bowl, And then needless to say, from there it just snowballed but wound up with the Whitleys. And that's how they got that. But somebody had it and brought it on an antique show. And that's the story with that one. But the round one is also the Whitleys. And there's only one known. You talk about a lot of money in that car. As they were traveling up from Texas, sort of like everybody has a lot of dollars. It's sort of like the Rogers with all the, I wanted him to bring the elk snappy and he wouldn't do it. I'm talking about Rogers. I said, well, don't you have an elk snappy? He said, yes. He said, well, they want to bring them both. And I can understand that. Who has an elk snappy in this room? The Rogers. Yeah. Notice there's not an example of an elk snappy because John and Jeanette wouldn't bring both, and I really can't blame them. But there is an example there. But they brought the round, and Floyd said that that's really the only one known, and that's kind of the base for the mold for all the other bowls that were made. And I think, you know, some people tried to sell it as a chow plate, some as, of course, an ice cream. When he bought it, he knew what he was buying. I think the guy was selling it as a chop plate, but Floyd said you can get better prices that way. But he knew what he was buying when he got that. But isn't it wonderful? And then the square one belongs to Sweetie. Belongs to Sweetie. And it is wonderful. And that's for sale too, isn't it, the square? You don't find the square too often. And then the other one belongs to, be careful, honey, belongs to Daryl and Norma. But what's so unusual, it's iridized on the back. And there's supposedly only about 10 of those or less known that are iridized on the back. The square farmyard is too.
Square is also.
But that is really unusual. And so we wanted to show you that they can be iridized on the back. The 3-in-1 edge belongs to us. And we are real pleased with that. Emmett was a sniper on eBay, and he got it on eBay for us. And he got it out of Australia. And we got it for a heck of a good price. And isn't it wonderful? We just think it's beautiful. And we were real pleased when we got that box. And it was as pretty as it was. But there are wonderful farmyards, and so for all of you that brought those wonderful farmyards, thank you. I don't think you're going to see as many as you see today at one time, and you'll probably never see the P.H.O. unless you go see the Whitleys, and they'd love to have you at their home. All right, fisherman mug, I guess everybody knows they probably have one of those in their collection, and of course amethyst is probably the most available. Marigold's a little bit harder to find, but they can command 2 to 3 times. And we have one of the purple, and the other 2 belong to Dick and Sherry. And one of them has stenciling on the back. Sometimes you can find stenciling on the back in that degree. Fishnet Apern belongs to Bob. I'm doing pretty good, Emmett. We got to just keep trucking. Peach O and purple are known in that, and they're not considered abundant. You don't find that too often, and that, of course, that Peach O belongs to Bob, and we're real pleased. Most of the time they have damage because of the Apern, the lily. The lily, believe it or not, the base is different than the size of the lily. And so it never would fit together too good into that. In fact, bases are in shorter supplies than supposedly the lilies in that pattern. Fish scale and beads, look at them, aren't they wonderful? No, I don't, wait, no, yes, that one, yes, okay, good. Eleanor has a lot of these up here. She's got a lot of the plates, and I think one of them has a blue ruffle. Is that the one here on the end? Has a blue base.
Yeah.
Over here at the end on this one. Aren't they just wonderful? They have wonderful iridescence. We're going to get one of those one day too, Emmett.
One of these days.
Uh-huh. Flowers and beads, where do we have those? Yes, you have to show one of those. That's on the back. Those both belong to Eleanor, and they're on the back of the particular pattern. Bowls are known, but they're you don't find too many times with the plates. Flowers and frames. Flowers and frames, I think, are on the other, no, there they are, and they're found only on the interior. And believe it or not, it's a fairly relatively scarce item. Both of these, one of them belongs to us and the other belongs to Dick and Sherry in the tri-corner. We like tri-corner. We think there's really a pretty one. Supposedly there's an unconfirmed green one out there. You have it? Oh. There's an unconfirmed green, and there's supposedly an unconfirmed marigold. Nope. Okay. Flowers and spades. You don't find that too often. That one belongs to Bob. and it's a very rare pattern, and one of these days I'd love to get one of those. I think in the last 20 years, supposedly only 10 have exchanged hands. They're that rare at auctions or just privately. They're known in peach, and amethyst, but not too many of those. Folding fan, a wonderful folding fan, and it's a black amethyst compote. I think that's right there. That's a folding. Where's the folding fan, Emmett?
Top shelf.
That top shelf by the fish net, a pern. Yeah, don't pick it up.
It's in the contract. I can, but I won't.
Oh, thank you very much. That's that one. That's because that's Dick and Sherry's, and they had an unfortunate one already breaking a piece of glass. They don't make another one. Not very. That's black amethyst, isn't it? Dick, and not very many of those are really known, and that's a wonderful, wonderful pattern, and supposedly only 3 colors known. Supposedly, there might be a white one out there, but it's unconfirmed in this time here. Formal, there are only 2 shapes. You're going to either find it in the vase or you're going to find it in the hat pin holder. That one belongs to Gail, and they pretty well, they command a fairly good price when they exchange hands, because it's not too many of those either. For flowers, well, we've got quite a few examples of the 4 flowers. One of those belonged to us, of the big ruffle, and the other belongs to Dick and Sherry. And Dick said, oh, he likes ours because he likes the middle. And I said, well, I like theirs because I like the edge. Now, couldn't we do it if we could put it all together in one piece?
Really?
How many times have you seen that? And the other, Rodney and Brenda Jacks have the small peach-o plate. And do we have Jim and Kaylani Lee's up there in the white one? Did we put it there? No? Well, they were going to. We must have ran out of room. Sorry. Ran out of room there. Garden Path and Garden Path variant. I don't think I have to say much about those. Those 3 belong to us, and we're real proud of those 3. Richard Jarning, some of you knew Richard before he died unexpectedly, and he sold us the chop plate. And we were so pleased to have that. Probably will not ever sell that because it was Richard's, and he was good enough to sell it to us. He made money, but it was still a fair price. And so I appreciate that. And the other 2 are ours, and we got that from John Resnick when we first started collecting. And we're real pleased with all of those, because I really like the Garden Path variant. I think most of you remember the Garden Path chop plate. Remember Joyce Seals, how beautiful hers were? I mean, they can have all different kind of iridescence. Oh, Emmett, dadgummit. This is the ugliest piece of glass I have seen in our collection, and Emmett is so proud of it. It has no color. This is Emmett's plate, but it's rare, supposedly, in that size, in that 7-inch or 7.5-inch, and he just had to bring it. But he called Eleanor to make sure. I had to call Eleanor, though, just to make sure it was okay when he bought that thing. God, it was ugly. Okay. The Grape Delight, I just brought an example. You all know about Grape Delights, but this one is a wonderful, this is ours, and that's one of our first 10 pieces we bought, but it has such wonderful iridescence, but it also has a crack. But we didn't know anything about cracks. We first started. Huh?
Ugly inside.
It's ugly inside, but we didn't know anything about that. But it has wonderful iridescence, so it's one of our first pieces, so we keep it. Grapevine lattice, you know how beautiful those are. And we have some really great examples. Eleanor has one of those plates, and Sherry has one of the plates, Sherry and Dick, and a low ruffle plate, or bowl, or whatever you want to call them. And they're wonderful. I'd like to have one of those too one of these days. And supposedly there's a ruffle hat from the tumbler known. We don't have that there, do we? No. Okay, go to the Heavy Grape. Isn't that wonderful? The Heavy Grape is by Dugan. And you always have to say, basically, Dugan's Heavy Grape, because you've got to distinguish that between that and the Imperial. But that is a wonderful piece, and that belongs to Fred Stone. And you don't normally find a little ruffle, but look, he has one of those too. And so we've got 2 of those, both of them here. And Mickey, hi. You came just to hear me. Thank you so much. But it's really difficult. Look, he's turning red. It's really difficult. It's really difficult. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm nervous too, but nobody knows it. Okay. But you can find both of those up there at that time because they're really hard to find. And they're really hard to find with that kind of iridescence. So it's wonderful. Heavy iris. Wonderful, wonderful pattern. The picture belongs to Eleanor, and the lavender tumbler belongs to Eleanor, and then the other tumbler belongs to Sherry. And the white jack in the pulpit, supposedly, there's not very many of those known. Eleanor told me that I think the marigold came first, and then you got this one, and supposedly there's one more out there in the white tumbler type thing, because they're just that rare. And that is really, really pretty because they have such nice iridescence. Excuse me. Heavy web, I want one of those too one day. And that belongs to Bob, and there's the chalk plate, but only one known in the chalk plate. But that's a beautiful example there of the peach-o. And the herring mug, I don't have one of those, but Dick and Sherry do, and it's black amethyst, and it's wonderful. And I think that marigold and purple are the only ones known. So this black amethyst is pretty darn rare. Holly and berry, we just wanted it. It's ours, but we think it's just really, really pretty. And basically, the story goes that they were kind of made to go along with the Christmas comfort. They were supposed to go along with the Christmas comfort, the little ones. I don't know if that's a true story or not, but that sounds good, doesn't it? Once that's gone, one more, and I'm doing okay, aren't I? All right. Honeycomb. Eleanor brought both of those here, and they're basically on the exterior, and she said she looked for almost 10 years to find the rose bowl that she really wanted, because the inside is sometimes not what she wanted. And it looks kind of rusty or something, and she looked a long time to find the one that's that pretty. And of course, a lot of times, they are confusing with fish scale and beads. They can be confusing. So you have to kind of study up on that. The only difference I know, and I'm going to read it here, supposedly on the honeycomb, the center is plain and unpatterned, and the fish scale, on the fish scale and beads, the pattern covers the whole, like that, like you see there. So you can look at that. All right, I heard this story. This vase was brought in by Pete Bingham this morning, Pete and Paula, and I just heard this story. It's on this hyacinth vase, and supposedly they were done so they could put the hyacinth bulbs in the top, and then you could have the roots go down in the water. And they were made especially for that. And I'm sure some of you are going this way, so I guess the story is true. I'm just believing what some of these experienced people told me this morning. And this is sort of pink from Holland with the bulbs. And isn't it wonderful? It's got wonderful iridescence on that. Jewel heart, you're not going to find too many of those either. And Joyce brought this one. And you're not going to find too many of these. And you're going to really only find it in marigold. This is really rare, unless there's a purple one out there that somebody has. But that's a wonderful pattern. Lattice and points and vining twig. This is not basically sometimes the easiest pattern. I believe that, did Tom Baggett bring some vases, or who do those vases belong to? Tom Baggett, I think Tom and Sandy. You just brought one. I can't see over there. Two. I can't see over there. And that little plate, that little ruffle one, made basically from a tumbler, that belongs to us. And I want you to look, it's wonderful iridescence. Emmett got it at an auction in Houston for $35. Great buy, Emmett. Good for you. Leaf rays, I just had to bring you an example. I think you know leaf rays is pretty abundant. But when you get it with that type of iridescence, it's really pretty. And Emmett got that too for $35 in a mall. He did very well in Austin. So that was a great buy. Blue is very scarce. And there's supposedly a green one out there. Anybody have it? Neil there? He kept everything. Line lattice. Gail brought a line lattice, and Sherry and Swede brought, Sherry and Dick and Swede brought the other Swatty vases and the peach-o. Aren't they wonderful? They're just beautiful. The squatties are just nice. And the inside, I turned one over so you can see the inside, because they're all so pretty even in the inside. There supposedly is a cobalt blue one out there. But people, so do the purple. Okay, many fruits, the punch that belongs to Emmett and I, and we're so proud of it, and thank God Swede got married. Bertie, they were going to, and so he finally had to say, okay, for marrying Swede, because I wouldn't have that beautiful punch set in our home if it wouldn't have been for that. So that's the only reason I got it, but it is a wonderful mini fruits. And white sets are really hard to find in that too, by the way. And purple isn't that easy to find, we think, with that type of iridescence. And the Marianne vase, we know how they've been reproduced today, but this is an old one because it belongs to Eleanor. And then they also made a Marianne with the 3-handle version also, as well as a 2-handle. And of course, many of you know all of this, but there are a lot of you that are new collectors like us that have to learn all these things. Okay, Persian garden. Don't we have a bunch of Persian gardens? Okay, this actually did survive the 1912 fire, so that's why you have quite a few different type styles and patterns of Persian garden. And we were fortunate to get this chop plate at Mickey's auction, and if Muehlbauer would have stayed in California, I could have got it cheaper. But it was principle with him. He said, well, this is too cheap. I could sell it on eBay and make money, so I had to pay more for that sucker. Remember that? No. Oh, no. Oh, no. The fruit bowl, we got that. That's kind of one of our first pieces at Texas, and that was one of our first pieces we spent a lot of money on. And it was kind of scary for Emmett and I, because we haven't ever spent that much money, $700 or $800, I don't know what it was, but it was our first big piece that we bought, and it was kind of scary, but it's wonderful, and we're real pleased. Sherry and Dick have a blue plate up there. That is a blue plate, and they are really, really rare. And I don't know, Emmett, I wouldn't pick it up, I'd just point to it. The blue one. That one. Because Eleanor has a white, and she has the peach-o in that, and they're real, supposedly in the chop plate, peach-o is really more rare in that one. Petal and fan, it's just a wonderful pattern to have, and that can basically speak for itself. I got a lot of petal and fans up there, folks, but they're all different with all different kind of iridescence, and a lot of the little ones belong to us. Emmett's got on this kick now, he likes little things. So we've gotten some little bowls, and the beaded bowl, oh, I read somewhere was supposedly the mole, was the beginning of the mole, and I don't know if that's true or not. Sherry and them have a candy rib edge one, and we have a candy rib edge. I felt really good too one day when Eleanor came to me and she said, I have something for you. And she has the candy rib edge plate. Wasn't that the one in the petal and fan? And she sold it to Emmett and I, and that used to belong to Swede. Well, now he tells me. Pony. We know about the pony. The ice cream belongs to Keith and Nola. Isn't it wonderful? That's really what we want. But they've really gone up in price here lately. And Eleanor has the marigold one. And she told me the story that when the good days were on the Antique Trader, where you could actually buy glass years ago, she got that one from Mary Hartong. And she was real pleased. Now you can't find anything in Antique Trader. But in those good days you could. Pull-a-loop belongs to Gail. And I guess topping the list in rarities are an amethyst opalescent example. And question mark, we finally got one of those. They're wonderful. The question marks are wonderful. Ice green is the rare color, and there's supposedly an unconfirmed green in question mark. Okay, but that plate is great. We got that from the Grizzlies not too long ago. Raindrops finally got one of those, and we had to go to California this year to get that at a midnight auction. Wasn't that wonderful? That's what we think it's nice, but raindrops are not that always easily found, and found with nice iridescence. Sometimes Dugan made great iridescence, and sometimes it just didn't look good, and I think that's all that way. Roundup, that one of those belonged to the Jacks, the ice cream one, Rodney and Brendan. The other one belongs to us. And they believe that this mold was lost in the 1912 fire. So there's not very many of those known. 6 petals. I guess that's just ours, isn't it? We just have one up there, and it's a tri-corner, and we're real pleased to have that one. Supposedly Carl Burns said there's black plates out there rumored to exist. Does anybody have one in this room? Dick would like to get one of those, wouldn't you? I would too. Ski Star. We know about Ski Star. We had a Peach-O one time, but we sold it because it really didn't have the iridescence that we had. But everybody has to have a Peach-O Ski Star, right? In the beginning of their collection. And it really had a short lifespan, but they sure did produce a lot of Ski Star. Smooth Rays. I just wanted to show you that one because that's a really, really pretty one, and that belongs to Eleanor, and white is really rare in that one. And Sparlets. You don't find them with this kind of iridescence. That belongs to Tom and Sandy, and it's for sale. And it is a wonderful piece because it has such great iridescence. Again, cobalt blue, I believe, is the rarity. All right, Emmett, look at this. Isn't this wonderful? The S Repeat punch set. You're not going to find many of these, and that belongs to Pete and Paula Bingham. And it looks wonderful in their home. And they're real pleased to have it, but it is wonderful. Joyce, you had one, didn't you? But you sold it. Do you regret it? I figured. She's going yes. They are just, and there's not too many patterns in the S Repeat. You don't find it hardly in any pattern. The toothpick has been reproduced. And they made a bunch of those, but you don't find too many of the original. There's some sort of little creamer that was done too. But that's what you usually find is the punch set, and it is wonderful. Starfish, you don't find too many starfish either. And this one is just gorgeous, and that belongs to Dick and Sherry. Got it? Oh, all right. And you seldom see this pattern, and this is wonderful. Peach-O is the most available, so you don't find it too often in the purple. Stipple petals, we got two. The Candy Rib Edge belongs to Sweet, and we have the other one. And we got that one from Steve Morrow. And that was a wonder. You forgot that already, didn't you? You remembered it, all right. And that has, look at the iridescence. We just think it's a wonderful type of iridescence because it's just different. Stark and Rushes. Well, I want you to look at the table set because there's only about 2 or 3 of these complete sets known. And that belongs to Pete and Paula Bingham. There's not very many of those out there. Sherry has a blue mug, Dick and Sherry has the blue mug, and Eleanor has this pastel marigold mug with the blue base. Is that what we're kind of saying with that? Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that pretty? And of course they made a lot of different water sets, berry sets, table sets. They made that. I guess the mug is the most familiar. Target, that belongs to Gail. And it was an extremely popular pattern with the buying public years and years ago. 2-way tie for rarity. One in lime green opalescent and one in Vaseline opalescent out there. Anybody have it? No?
Back here.
One back there. Whose hand is that? Oh, Diane? Is that yours? Diane Fry. Which one do you have? Vaseline opal. And that has to be beautiful. Just beautiful. Tiny twigs. Those were hard to make too. And because of the twigs. And this one belongs to Eleanor. And it is just wonderful. The Jack in the Pulpit supposedly is the rarest shaped of all. Tree of Life is a great little miniature basket. This one belongs to Eleanor. And Eleanor is known for her miniatures, if you didn't know that. And here's the Victorian. The purple one belongs to us, and we got that from Bob Square Purple, and we got that from Bob and Faye Allaire when they sold their glass here at HOACGA. And we're so pleased to have that one. But the Peach-O, we probably never will own a Peach-O. Not too many of you will ever own a Peach-O. According to Bob, because this one belongs to Bob, there are only 3 known. One in Australia. Dale has one, Matheny, and Bob has one. And there's only 3 known. And aren't they just wonderful? That's just a wonderful thing. Are people leaving our seminar, Emmett? Windflower. Windflower. Don't pick it up, Emmett. But it's an amber. Oh, God, it just scares me every time he picks up that. It's an amber windflower. And this belongs to Cleo and Jerry Kudlow. And you know they love collecting windflower. And I asked them if they would share one of their rarest colors in that. And so they brought the amber, and you don't find that too often. and they collect that pattern. We have a windflower also in our collection, and Emmett won't let me sell it because I had to have 3 of them at one time, but I gave 2 away for Christmas gifts. Wishbone and spades, where are they? Look at all of these, aren't they wonderful? The chop plates, of course, and the little plates have really come up in value here lately. And there's supposedly 1 peach O known in the chop plate. You have it, Dale? Anybody have that 1 peach O? But the little chop plates are wonderful. And this one has a basket weave back, I believe. Sometimes you'll find them smooth, and sometimes you'll find them with a basket weave. Oh, I don't know, I gotta read. Peach O. Believe it or not, in the small plates, it said peach O is the scarcest, a 6-to-1 ratio. That's according to Carl Burns. Now you can take that, but that's what they said, 6-to-1. This is my last card. See, they're blank. But I'm not through talking. I went over this so very fast, and you were so very patient. But I really didn't want to, I really don't like talking a long time, but I could have said a lot more about this glass, but the glass can speak for itself, and you know that. And when you come up here after a while to look, don't touch. Don't touch. You can look, do not touch, and do not take out. And secondly, after the room clears, the cameraman would like to come up here and scan all the glass. So for you that brought glass, and thank you from the bottom of our hearts for bringing this glass, because we really do appreciate it. Would you all stand if you helped us in this seminar? Please stand. Yay! That. And now for you that brought the glass, here are your instructions. After the cameraman gets through taking all what he needs, then we can pick up the glass. And what? No, it's not free for all. Everybody, I said, please mark, the back. But then we'll pick up our glass and do this. But we really enjoyed doing this. Emmett, would you like the last word?
Are there any questions?
No, John, no. Okay, what? I didn't have an example of a peacock at the fountain. They do make it in Dugan, but they're not that readily available, and I didn't know who to call. I guess somebody has one. I don't know. Does anybody? You have a set in blue? Okay, because they're pretty rare. And if I would have known that, I would have called you. He wouldn't have brought it in blue? John? Oh, did you? You held it? Did you buy it? You know it exists. Okay. All right. But, I mean, on this Dugan glass, there are really a lot of rarities. There really are. And a lot of the molds, honestly, was destroyed in the 1912 fire. I was going to tell you on a lot of these, and I guess I didn't read my whole cards, but a lot of these molds were destroyed, and Diamond never picked them back up, never redid them in that degree. I think I covered it all, didn't I? Yes. Oh, thank you very much for coming and listening to us. And you didn't hackle us too much. Floyd did. Floyd and Pete were supposedly going to hackle, and I said, honey, your time is tomorrow night. So if you mess around with me today, no, I'm not going to say that on tape. And to HOACGA, thank you for asking us. We really did. What do you want, Rogers? Don't ask too hard.
I want to know when I can vote for you.
You have to move to Texas.
Oh, my.
Oh, my. Now, if I have an opponent next year, you can all be registered voters. I'll figure it out. In Washington County, I'll figure. Sweet.
If you get a divorce, does Emmett get that little white?
Thank you so much. Emmett and I will not get a divorce. You know why? Because we don't know who's going to get the carnival, and I'm getting it all except the white plate. Thank you. a good one. Any other? Oh, you're going to get that plate, honey. All right. Anything else? But again, to all of you, thank you very much. We had a good time, and I'm going to drink now. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Dorothy and Emmett, for a very nice program. And it's just an effort to put on a program like this, just to call people and get all the glass identified and used here. So, again, we thank you for bringing it, and we thank those people that identified glass that had not been identified before. Again, the luncheon, the next event, the luncheon will be at 12:30. It'll be at the Ambassador's Room, which is catty-cornered on the other side of the building past the bar, on the other side of it. So we'll hope to see you then at 12:30. Thank you again.
Yeah, when you see a Dugan, and I think this is the first time for Dugan at HOACGA. There's never been a Dugan at HOACGA. So, yeah. Thank you. Isn't he cute, funny? And he gets the white plate. I love it. I knew that would have a piece of horrible. Thank you, Jeanette. I might, but you know what I'll do tomorrow. I'm not ready for presents. Thank you. Hey, Shirley. Thank you. I enjoyed I don't know. I have to go look. Well, I've got the book. I know. I don't know if it's in your container or not.
No, that's all right. Stay on this side,
Because I don't know as I've ever really paid attention, paid enough attention maybe to, no, I usually don't.
Thank you. Oh, yes, you sure did. Okay. Appreciate it. But I'm sure glad they told me if I could. Oh, I did study a little bit. Thank you.
You don't really exactly hear it. I had the same thing. You just don't. It's not a unit. Pick up anything.
Yeah. Right. Yes, I love that piece. Extra that I know. It's beautiful. Gotcha.
Like that. Yeah, no damage.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
I think it would work better that way. They look like what? Almost like trees. Don't they though? That's why we have to kind of put everybody's name on it.
And, I'm sorry, Miss Dorothy, whatever you say. She is good.
Thank you. Thank you. It all turned out fine. Last spoke for it. Oh, it's wonderful. Wonderful feeling to be.
Now, you know what I told me? You said, all that class, read that position.
Oh, no.
Think about it.
I don't want
You'll think about it. But it won't take long. It won't take long.
Probably, like California, TV, they can really work out.
Everybody talks about me in my hair.
Get out of your way. Let me get out of your way.
They always talk about me.
You know what she's like when you say
John's got one. I was got one.
Where is she? I'll talk to her. Oh, there she is. I couldn't see her.
They're rolling down. Some of those things that you bought that were one of a kind 20 years ago are still one of a kind. Sitting back like the hat from Mexican
Only thing is, I forgot to say, Dick's the only other one I have to email and tell him to stay off. Bob, did you say when you start down here? I know. You did a marvelous job. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I had a good time. I was nervous. You know, I mean, well, competitions, I'm sure. They're nervous. I mean, really, I was nervous as a speaker. I did. How are you? All right. I know. I wonder if then it's okay. You can take it beyond there. No,
You got everything down to right?
yeah, don't leave anything behind. You know, let everybody take their glasses.
No, I'm good.
He's I'm so glad I got to see that.
So he's coming this way.
Should I get it from you? I'm gonna let everybody take their class. And then Emmett and I will get out. It's nice of everybody.
I'm gonna get my base before you get there. What you want? I'm gonna be okay.
They are here. I want everybody to take theirs first, then we'll take ours. They better not take mine, that's all I'm
Hopefully everybody gets the right pieces.
Good program, Emmett. Very good.
I thought it went well.
Oh, thanks, Brenda, for being in the back.